Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great. That takes us to item 3 on the agenda, proclamations, acknowledgements, and awards. We have a proclamation at this time. I'll come down there. Excellent. So we have a proclamation this evening. We have some special guests here with us. So Michelle, would you please come up and introduce your two guests? Thank you for being here.
Mayor, council members, my name is Michelle Martinez. I'm the coordinator at CAVIT, which is located in Coolidge. We have about 100 students who attend CAVIT from the Maricopa area, either Maricopa High School or Sequoia Pathways, and I'm going to turn it over to two of our students to talk to you about HOSA Week.
Awesome. Why don't you guys come up here, and then we will read the proclamation, and then the time is yours. So come on up. So the first thing we wanted to do is read the proclamation this evening. Whereas the HOSA, or Future Health Professionals, is a career and technical student organization for high school and post-secondary students who plan to pursue a health career. And whereas HOSA serves as a pipeline of future health professionals and provides a strong foundation for preparing tomorrow's healthcare professionals through skill development, leadership opportunities, and community service. And whereas health science education and HOSA support and encourage students whose interests lie in pursuing a health career, thereby helping to alleviate a national shortage of health workers. And whereas HOSA promotes the development and responsibility of responsible citizenship, personal integrity, and compassion for humanity. Now, therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim November 6th through the 12th, 2016, as National HOSA Week in the City of Maricopa. Let's give them a big round of applause. So, you go ahead and talk, and then we'll do a picture.
So good evening, council members and Mayor Price. My name is Raul Garcia, and I am a student at CAVIT. I am currently in the dental assistant program. I also attend full-time here school and Sequoia Pathway Academy just down the street. I just wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit about CAVIT. At CAVIT, we have 8 programs that are that have both technical and career education programs. Each one, you have both opportunities to receive credit colleges, as well as a HOSA licensure opportunities, or both of them as well. And it's a very great opportunity for any student that decides to join CAVIT. Also, any student that joins CAVIT, they attend it for 2 years, every day being bused back and forth. And that's not only it. Also, CAVIT has students all over Pinal County. Also, we are very, very proud to serve and help out our community members. They come in. We have clinics as well, where we can treat them for whatever the program is. We have from dental to medical to nursing and many others. We do it at a low cost or even free at some cases. We are very proud, and we also have opportunities for internships and help out our business partners in this program, and we are very happy for it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marissa Glibbery, and I'm a second-year student at CAVIT. I'm in the Vet Assistant program, and I also go to Sequoia Pathway. Tonight we were here to discuss HOSA, which is our first professional organization that specifies in allied health students. I am a chapter officer for HOSA at CAVIT, and I had training over this past summer, and I had to create a program of work, and I also attend monthly meetings just like you guys. Besides learning these leadership skills, our members can compete in allied health events at our spring conference in Tucson and potentially at our national conference held this year in Orlando, Florida. It is a National HOSA Week, November 6th to the 12th, 2016, and we are asking all of our participating cities to make a proclamation for it, which I believe you have. Thank you so much for the following, allowing us to address this.
And I'll stand on this side. How about that? Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thanks so much. Congratulations. Big round of applause. Thank you very much. That takes us through to item 4, which is the report from the mayor. As there's a ton of things going on here, just be very brief. As you know, many of you heard before that we had the opportunity to attend the Pinal County Town Hall on transportation and economic development and how those two link together. As Councilmember Smith said very eloquently earlier, it was a wonderful opportunity to hear from a variety of people. Had some real heavy hitters there this year. We had a variety of folks from the State Land Department, which I think is really important when it comes to transportation, as well as Victor Mendez from the Deputy Director of FHWA, which is the Federal Highway Administration, as well as who's also a former ADOT Director, as well as Mary Peters, who is also a former ADOT Director and also a former Director of or Secretary of Highway Transportation as well. So quite the interesting opportunity to listen to them, hear their experiences, and see what we can do in Pinal County to move transportation forward, which, as you know, certainly helps economic development. Just as was mentioned earlier, also I had the opportunity to attend the VA event, which was a wonderful opportunity to get together and meet folks, so I won't elaborate on that, but we hope to see more of those in the future. Thank Councilmember Wade also for participating and helping to make that happen. So finally, I had the opportunity to give the State of the City address here this last week. I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago now. It sure feels like last week considering how much went into it. Hope you had fun with it. If you haven't had a chance to see it, one of the reasons we often do it in this location is because of the opportunity to record it. So it's on our website, it's out on public media, our social media, so we encourage you to watch it. It gives you a good understanding as to where we are as a city, what we've accomplished this year, and what we're looking and striving to accomplish this upcoming year. So hopefully that'll generate some ideas and some questions from you as well that we'd love to answer. With that, that concludes the report from the mayor, and we'll move on to the report from the city manager.
Honorable Mayor, no items to report this week.
Thank you very much, City Manager. That'll take us to the call to the public. This is an opportunity in which the public has the opportunity to approach us and tell us what's on your mind. I do have a few speaker cards, and so I typically like to go to those first. They are all called to the public items. So with that, I'll just take them in the order that I've received them. Becky Check, if you'd please come forward. Again, just give us your name for the record and tell us what's on your mind. We give each person about 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Becky Check. As you are aware, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I would like to share some information with you this evening. Breast cancer is the most common cancer among American women, except for skin cancers. About 1 in 8 women in the U.S. will develop invasive breast cancer during their lifetime. For 2016, the American Cancer Society estimates approximately 240,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in women. At this time, there are more than 2.8 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. Most doctors feel that early detection tests for breast cancer help save thousands of lives each year, and that many more lives can be saved even if more women and their healthcare providers took advantage of these tests. If you'd like more information, you can go online to cancer.org, which is the American Cancer Society website. And if you'd like to get involved in joining the fight against cancer here locally, you can visit Relay for Life of Maricopa AZ on Facebook. And again, Mayor, I have brought with me a first aid kit in pink with the stylized pink ribbon for breast cancer awareness. And at this time, which is actually, sorry, I missed this last time also, this first aid kit has been donated by Councilmember Smith. At this time, Mayor, I would like for you to draw the winning ticket, and this time it's a number you have to read.
Okay. So the number is 204977. 204977.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Becky. At this time, I'd like to call up Kay Dixon.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and City of Maricopa residents that come out. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is Kay Dixon, and I am seeking the office of Sheriff for Pinal County. And I come before you today to pledge to you as your sheriff that I will work with you as city council members. I will work with your community and your police department, as well as our board of supervisors. I believe that crime has no boundaries. It bleeds within and without cities. And your city's in our county, and I've heard all the talk about making your city great. That's super important. It is, and you're on the right track. I come out to a lot of the events out here. I've been involved with this city since day one. Since its incorporation, I was the first contracted law enforcement for the city of Maricopa. And I have seen it grow from pecan fields to the wonderful city and place that it is today. And there's no reason why we can't have a great county. There's no reason why we can't work closer and interact closer with our city leaders and with our city police departments. As I said before, crime has no boundaries, and I think sharing statistical information and sharing our resources as we move forward will not only help the cities, but it will also help the counties. Of particular interest to me is the transportation of inmates. Once an inmate is arrested, oftentimes cities that are this far away from the jail have to take somebody that's qualified, certified off the road to do that transport. And that leaves the city short-staffed, and it leaves officers at times without adequate backup. That's a concern for me, for the safety of the officers, the safety of the citizens we serve, and that's something that I'll work with your police chief, you, the city, and with all of our community leaders on fixing that problem through volunteer programs, through the attrition of detention transportation officers, and other things like thinking outside of the box, like Mr. Manfredi had suggested earlier. And I know it's been a long evening already for everybody, so I won't take up everybody's time. I could talk forever. But I do want to say it's sad that CAVIT already left. I've been a part of CAVIT since almost day one. I sat on the Law Enforcement and Fire Advisory Council, and I also sat on their Veterinary Technician Council Board. And anybody that has not ever visited CAVIT, I encourage you to do so. It is a jewel that we have right here in Pinal County. And they also didn't mention they have an adult learning program that they started this year. That's also a great asset to our county, and we should all embrace it. And I thank you for your time, and I will turn the mic over to the next speaker, unless you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Kay. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker I have is Shelley Gillespie.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. Thank you, Mayor Price and Vice Mayor Brown, the whole council, and the staff. Really appreciate it. I'm giving you an update on the Copa Shorts Film Fest, which is well underway. Next Friday, next week, is the last day we're accepting films and screenplays, and we just had wonderful news. As a result of our workshop, which you all contributed to last month, we had 340 students there at the Performing Arts Center at the high school, and we had a half-day program for them, which of course was delayed because one of the buses was stopped by the train tracks, of course. But we had a wonderful program. The kids were very inspired, and I just heard today from the administrators that 51 students will be submitting projects for the festival. That's either screenplays or films. So that's a pretty high percentage out of the 340 students, and we're very, very excited about it. We have many people working behind the scenes with us, and we're looking forward to having a wonderful festival from February 17th through 19th. You all, of course, are invited to our VIP evening. But we just wanted to look for some more help with what we're doing, and if anybody is interested in being involved, there are many ways to get involved. We need people on site for the festival because we have people talking to us from all over the world. We have more than half of our films are coming from the U.S., a good number from here in this area, but we have places as far away as the Ukraine, Australia, Japan, you name it. So we've got some very interesting films, and we've been negotiating with a gentleman from Norway who unfortunately submitted his film in Norwegian, and we don't have anybody who can do that. So we've been trying to work it out. You're not supposed to be able to submit a film again, but we're forgiving. It looks like an interesting film anyway. We can't speak Norwegian either. So we're having a very wonderful time working with people. We're very grateful for all the people like the ASU students, the interns who have been working with us to review the films. And I have some ASU students as far away as New Mexico and Cleveland who've been playing a big role. But we thank you all. We're very grateful. And we really could use, I hate to say it, but some more sponsorship. And we're knocking on doors and hoping people will work with us. But your part really made a difference. And I'm so enthusiastic about the kids and their involvement. And we also had another day, which I didn't have a chance to mention, CAC. We ran a full-day program there with screenwriting and filmmaking. And if you look on Vimeo, at Banderstar, you will see a 3-minute video that was made from the actual scene that we produced after writing it at our full-day festival. So we've had a lot of fun working on this, and we intend to do future things where we actually have workshops, some of which the city may be involved with. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time, and thank you all.
Thank you, Shelley. The next speaker card I have is for Lillian. Lillian Lowen. Thanks, Lillian. If you tell us your full name there. If I screwed it up, I apologize.
That's okay. Our last name is Norwegian.
Excellent.
Honorable Mayor and council members, my name is Lillian Lowen.
And Lillian, would you pull that mic just a little closer to your mouth there so we can all hear you? Thank you.
Okay, there we go. And I'm Lillian Lowen. Together with these ladies, we represent our social group for Maricopa senior ladies, which we call a Creative Sisterhood. We have been meeting every Wednesday in the Copa Center building for over 6 years. We have around 50 regular active sisters, but have welcomed as many as 250. We are not allowed to charge membership fees or dues. In addition to sharing our ideas, talents, and craft supplies with each other, we reach out to our community and to those in need. So far, using our own materials as well as those donated to us, we've been able to give support to the Maricopa Police Department, our soldiers through the VFW, Maricopa Food Bank, nursing homes, and against abuse shelters both in Maricopa and Casa Grande. We're also connected to several organizations that serve in Pinal County. Our newest partnership in Maricopa is with the Mothers of Everyday Heroes, which reaches out to homeless teens and families in our own town. So far, we have made and given 302 blankets, 300 pillowcases, 245 toiletry bags, 50 crocheted scarves, 96 Christmas stockings, and 383 toys, as being represented here. This summer, we were given the opportunity to join with a program through Savers Thrift Store in Chandler, which they call a gift to give. They will generously give us as much needed items that we can use to bless many in need. We have worked long at establishing a network of opportunities in which we can help those in need. We are happy to be working with other groups which do the same. We are on limited incomes and we can't afford to buy needed items, but with donations and our busy hands, we can make gifts which we can give to those with our loving hearts. We are not able to use the Copper Sky facility due to limited availability of space and because we can't afford to rent rooms on a regular basis. The time draws near to the building of the much needed overpass at 347 and the train tracks. Unfortunately, the Copa Center will be torn down next year, leaving the seniors of Maricopa with no place to meet. Our urgent plea is that the City of Maricopa will know about us and our contributions to those in our community, and that they will be sure to create a safe place for us to meet and be productive. We look forward to seeing how we can, with the city, come up with a creative answer to this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lillian. Ted Yoakum.
Good evening. As you know, my name is Ted Yoakum. Here I am. I would like to address my comments to Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Brown, City Council, Manager Rose, and our residents. The comments I'm going to make kind of jump all over the place because I had some thoughts in mind when I came down. I jotted down some notes, and then I heard some speakers, and I felt that I wanted to make a few comments about the speakers' comments. So forgive me if it seems as though it's disjointed, because it probably is. First, as everyone here probably knows, I'm rather active in the Maricopa Advocate Program, and I am known to be rather persistent, and that's going to be my theme as I talk. I'm going to be persistent on part of the Maricopa seniors. Christy had talked about silver sneakers, and there seems to be a misconception as to exactly what it is and how it's funded and who can go to it. Silver Sneakers is a marvelous program, and it is provided free to those folks who have it in their Advantage plans. That's the plan above and beyond excuse me, Medicare. However, there are only 6 insurance carriers out of around the 40 that provide Advantage plans that provide silver sneakers. So for those senior residents in Maricopa, they can't partake in silver sneakers. If you get silver sneakers, you get basically a free membership to Copper Sky. But if not, a membership Copper Sky senior couple is about $300. Which brings me to an income issue. 1/3 of the senior citizens in this country, 1/3 of them who are on Social Security, live on a $900 Social Security check, period. No other source of revenue or income. Can they afford silver sneakers when they're deciding between taking their medication that night or eating the next day or paying electricity for the electric bill? So when we talk about balancing the good of what the city needs in the way of revenue and what senior citizens or other groups need in the way of some help, I think that creates a pretty good picture. We talked about what can a USMD do for us. I've met with Dr. Chestnut, with Aaron Rausch, and with Jim Irving, and we've had discussions. And it seemed as though we're in a holding pattern. I really don't know where that stands. But Councilman Manfredi mentioned that he would gladly get involved with us if we wanted to go revisit that, and I think we should. I came to Maricopa about 11 years ago. I've lived here 8 years, and am I okay? Okay. When the Copa seniors first started meeting, we met at the Arena Sports Bar, which is now True Grit. We met there one Thursday a month, and Arena was kind enough to offer us their facility on a Thursday morning once a month, and they also gave us coffee and donuts for $10. And sometimes we had 30, 40, 50 people there. We also were able to meet at Anytime Fitness, their old location. They had a room way in the back. It was a storage room. It was about 30 by 40 foot. Anybody that's ever been there, they know the room I'm talking about. That room, 30 by 40 foot, had no windows, no furniture, and about a 60-watt light bulb. And that's where we would go to play cards, games, or whatever. We had to bring our own tables and chairs with us because they didn't have any furniture. Well, then along came Councilman Brown to one of our meetings, and he said, I have a really big surprise for you senior folks. I want you to follow me. And he took us to what now is the Copa Center. And when we took a look around and we saw what we were going to have, windows, light bulbs, furniture, we thought we had died and gone to heaven. Toilets. And toilets, yes, we did. That's right, and toilets. What a movement that was. Yeah. The Copa Seniors is a social group. We have no revenue, no income. We do collect money at each of our formal meetings, which is the second Thursday of the month, but the money we collect, usually about $30 to $50, goes toward refreshments for the next meeting. We don't issue membership cards. There is no membership fee. Anybody who is 55, I hope it's 55, or older, and is a resident of the greater city environs is a member automatically. They can drop in, they can join us in our parties, cards, or whatever. Our biggest concerns from year to year seem to be, how are we going to fund and house our Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas parties? It's wonderful to only have to worry about that. But now our worries are phenomenal, and that is, where are we going to be next March? That's our worry. Where are we going to go? Because right now, we have no place to go. I'm asking council to keep in mind what our needs are, what our situation is, what our income is not. I ask that from time to time you move our concerns to the front burner. I'm not asking that they be there all the time, because I know what the issues are to run a city. I've been in the Maricopa Advocate Program long enough to be fully aware of finances, budgets, and lack of funds. Realistically, we're not looking for a senior center per se. A senior center is where they might serve meals, they do all kinds of things. If you've ever been to a senior center, you know what I mean. All we are looking for at minimum is a place that we can meet, we can socialize, some place we can call home. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. Anyone else at this time like to address us? I have no more speaker cards, but you're still free to approach the podium and speak for approximately 3 minutes if you have something on your mind. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public this time and move on through the agenda. That takes us to the minutes. Council, can I have approval for minutes 7.1 and 7.2, please?
So move. Second.
Have a motion and a second on those items. Is there any further discussion on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. I have no public hearings at this time, so that'll take us on to the consent agenda. Council, can I have a motion to approve consent, please, from items 9.1 and 9.3? I have a motion at the far end and a second. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And that takes us to the agenda item of the evening, which is item 10.1 on the regular agenda, which is the mayor and city council shall hear a presentation regarding the Palo Verde Regional Park. This is for discussion only. So Jennifer, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and council members, I'd like to introduce to you Kent Taylor from Pinell County. He's here to discuss with you tonight the Palo Verde Regional Park Master Plan.
Thank you. And I actually failed, before you let you go there, Kent, I actually failed to recognize Supervisor Smith, former mayor of Maricopa, who's also in the audience. So thank you. Kent, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to first say I appreciate you having given me the opportunity to come and talk to you a little bit about Palo Verde Regional Park. Before I get into that, I would like to publicly acknowledge both Jen and Christy from your staff have been a tremendous asset and help to the county in helping us to get the word out and education and messaging on this planning project. So we really appreciate that assistance. Thank you very much. So many of you might know that the county started about a year ago the planning process for a large regional park on the west side of the county, just to the west of your city boundaries. What I'd like to do today is just give you an update on where we're at in that process, what we've been through to get there, and kind of our next steps as we move forward. So as I was driving over today, I realized that this is a little bit different audience for me. So I'm used to talking to folks that are county focused. So I thought maybe I'd start out with what we in Pinal County, what we think is a regional park. Your regional park has ball fields and lights and those kind of facilities. Our regional parks are more nature-based. They're very large. So as you can see, this one that we're planning is about 22,000 acres. So with activities that are related to that nature-based facility. So could be passive recreation like trails, amphitheaters, ramadas, picnicking, those type of things. Or it could be more active as in motorized recreation, shooting sports, and those kind of facilities. So that's what we talk about when we talk about regional park and on the county scale. Again, we started this process last fall, And this piece of property that we're looking at is a BLM-owned property, and again, about 22,000 acres, a little under 34 square miles, and you see on the map there, that is the footprint. As we started that planning process, what we typically do is we start by what we call a resource analysis. And this is basically looking at what is present on the property as it exists now. We look at soil, vegetation, transportation routes, both BLM transportation that are on the property as it exists, and transportation routes as to how to get into the property, where are the possible access points, and those type of things. We look at soils, we look at slopes, so we know where to build things and where not to build things. Utilities, visual resources, and those type of things. And this resource analysis allows us to do a couple of things. Number one, it helps us determine what would fit well in the footprint and where it would go within that footprint. And number two, it lays the groundwork. It is really the groundwork that we're going to need to do as a county when we start dealing with the Bureau of Land Management on their environmental requirements for the property. So this is the basis of the NEPA requirements for going into an agreement with BLM. So once we completed the resource analysis, we begin our public outreach process. Oh, wait, I'm gonna go over one more resource analysis that we did. And this is a little different. This is not part of the what we would typically do for BLM, but this is something more from a decision maker process. Pinal County has based their model of regional parks on what you commonly see in Maricopa County. So a lot of what we've done is based on our decision-making process on what's worked in Maricopa County. So one of the things our consultant did was they did a drive time analysis for this piece of property in relation to what the population is and a drive time of a half an hour to that site. And then we compared it to work that Maricopa County had done on their park system, so we can get an idea of where we were, if we had enough what we thought was enough population to serve the park and meet the growing needs as the population grew. And what you can see from this this slide is basically the population we know is growing, and you can see those estimates. But we're real similar to a couple of Maricopa County parks, both Santan Mountain Regional Park and McDowell Mountain Regional Park, in the same drive time population with close to their boundaries. And then below on the attendance comparison, you can see what those regional parks in Maricopa County, what those attendance numbers were in both 2015 and 2016. So, in Santan Mountain Regional Park in 2016 drew 143,000 or 146,000 plus visitors to that regional park. And something that's different from our Palo Verde Regional Park, neither of those Maricopa County parks offered motorized recreation. So we think there's an opportunity in the population base to really see some use within this footprint. So as we begin the public meeting process, we went out to the public. We held our first meeting in December of last year, excuse me, and started asking, we presented the resource analysis, and then we started asking folks, what would you do if this park was a reality? What kind of recreation would you like to see happen in this? And basically, if you guys have been through a planning exercises, we did a little dot exercise, put your dots in the spot, and then we followed that up with a online survey just that mirrored that on site. We had over 400 responses total between the public meeting and the survey. And what that told us was that what folks were looking at was the highest vote getters, trails, both non-motorized and motorized, picnic, camping opportunities, shooting sports. So if you've been out to that area, you know there's a lot of shooting, recreational shooting that currently goes on. And those tended to be the most popular ones, with everything else falling below that as far as the respondents came. So we took that information and said, okay, if we have those activities, what comes next? And it's basically, how do we fit those into that footprint? So we met with the public again in March. I'm going to back up. We met with them in March. We presented the analysis of our recreation activities. We also presented a couple of conceptual designs, both from, to just give them an idea how that might fit into the footprint. We showed them a concept design for a trailhead facility, for the shooting sports activity, and for a recreation or a RV park type facility within the footprint that we had. Again, we took feedback from the public at that time, and from there we developed what we call our 4 alternatives. And we presented those 4 alternatives in a public meeting in June, and then followed that up with a comment period after that public meeting for about 45 days. And basically we start out always, and this is part of a NEPA requirement and a BLM requirement, we always start with a no action alternative. So do nothing. So this was our alternative A. And that's basically just leave it as it is. Alternative B, and we kind of named these by the change. This is the minimal amount of change. And basically on alternative B, what we did was we took the uses that are existing out there today and fit them in that footprint in a little bit more managed scenario. So the shooting sports, we collapsed into a shooting area instead of being dispersed throughout the entire footprint. Alternative C, again, built on alternative B, added a non-motorized recreation zone kind of in the middle of the property between just south of the Vicol Wash, but added some more developed infrastructure, things like an interpretive center, equestrian riding stables, more developed campsites, so actually with water and electric, and then added some additional shooting sports within that shooting footprint. And then alternative D, again, adding to the 3 previous alternatives, changed the non-motorized zone a little bit on this particular alternative, but also added large group picnic areas, a challenge course, some BMX biking opportunities, off-leash dog park, and those type of facilities. So again, that was our meeting in June. We had online comments from June 10th through July 15th. We had a total of 845 total respondents. And you can see there the breakdown on the chart of what we got back as far as information from the public. So basically 70% of the folks that or responded to that said they wanted some kind of change, with the majority of them actually in the C and D option, over 50% in the C and D option, and about 30% that said they wanted the no action alternative. So from there, what we did was we came up with a draft preferred alternative. And because I'm a park and trail guy, I love paper maps. Plus they're bigger and my eyes see them better.
Thank you, sir.
I was trying to scroll in on the computer.
So to simply tell you what the draft preferred alternative is basically C+, and as far as the alternatives go. We took alternative C and built in some of the features that we had shown in alternative D. It includes both non-motorized and motorized trail uses. And it includes equestrian facilities except for an arena. Some interpretive uses, both and as far as an interpretive center, maybe a small amphitheater that you can do interpretive type events and programming, bird watching, photography, those type of things. Family picnic areas and playgrounds, we continue to show camping uses, shooting sports, except for a paintball field. And that was one of the things we got from our responses, that folks didn't feel that a paintball field was an appropriate use. And then some miscellaneous uses if they fit into the footprint, such as geocaching, rock climbing, off-leash dog park. And then one item that was not on our radar at all, wasn't on any activity list, did not show in any of the other public meetings we did, But in this last round, we got numerous comments about adding disc golf. And so I've learned that Maricopa has a very healthy disc golf population. So that is something we think would fit in with the footprint quite nicely. So that's where we are now. We put this out on our website last week for public comment. We are taking public comment from October 11th through November 10th. And again, thank you to the City of Maricopa. I think I looked at your website today. I think we're right on the front spot, right in the middle, helping get us that word out. From there, we'll take those comments back. We'll make revisions to that preferred alternative in the month of November. We'll meet with my advisory commission the last week of November with that draft plan and ask them for final input and then a recommendation to the board. And we've got 2 board meetings scheduled in December. We're tentatively scheduling the first one for a work session with the board and the second one for an action item on the master plan. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Kent, you know, I've met with many of people who, you know, some are in favor of this, some opposed, you know, as you know, and anytime there's change, there's always going to be opinions on both sides of the aisle. But I think one of the questions that I had is that, you know, one of the things I tried to express to folks is that, you know, we have to look longer term than just us here now. I mean, someday, 50 years out, when you were looking at those numbers earlier, you had presented, you know, 2040, 2050, 2070, you know, I mean, some of these things, we're talking about growth of an area, and one of the examples I used was, you know, look at Central Park in New York, and, you know, if someone hadn't had the vision to put that aside and to think about, you know, what it was going to be in a city of nothing but cement and high rises, that, you know, you really wouldn't have access to something that we take for granted out here in the West. But I think that one of the things people often don't understand is the way in which this might evolve. And I was wondering if you could kind of explain a little bit. While you're talking about, you know, kind of C+ as being the preferred alternative, I think that one of the things that people fear is that, you know, what they see today is going to be so drastically changed, they're not going to recognize it tomorrow. And that's one of the things I think that people don't often understand, is that when you're in government, you're trying to say, all right, if we do this, we have all these rules, federal rules that we have to abide by, and so we have to kind of get the maximum top end of approval, and then we can back it up from there. We can go all the way up to it. We can't necessarily cross that line, but we can go from something or nothing to all the way up to that, right? And I think that if you'd kind of explain that and how you might phase that over time so that people are a little more put at ease with the knowledge that this isn't going to be different tomorrow than what they've been used to utilizing.
Sure, happy to answer that question. And there's actually a couple of answers to go along with that. First of all, what we've asked our consultant is part of the final draft and the final master plan will include both an implementation schedule, a proposed implementation schedule, and at least a first attempt at a budget. But we really can't do that until we have the final activities in the footprint. So that's part of our master plan process. So going back to something I mentioned earlier, we've mirrored our vision of these regional parks off of what's happened in Maricopa County. So I will tell you that Maricopa County started planning their regional park system in the 50s. And they are still, in many of their parks, still working on fully implementing the master plans that they approved in the 60s. So that's the kind of timeline we're working on as far as developing the park. What I can tell you from working just through the approval process is that we work with BLM on a semi-regular basis, and again, using what Maricopa County has experienced and our friends in Pima County, we know that something of this nature, to go through the BLM process, 5 years would be a really, really quick planning process, and over 10 years is usually the norm. So that's before we can do anything on the site whatsoever. So until then, existing activities continue to happen just like they are right now. We also anticipate that, again, with that phasing plan, that it's going to be phased in. There's going to be pieces that open and you develop before you do the others. And as in the master plan, it discusses that parts that aren't developed, the activities that are currently going on would continue to go on as they are. So that's how we kind of look at it long term. I tell folks when I visit with them, I'm not going to be around when this park's done. I'm not. So this is for my kids and their kids.
Interesting. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I had the opportunity about a year ago to go on a tour of the proposed plan, if you recall, with Supervisor Smith and Gina Diabella. And I was tremendously impressed, and I too at that time realized it's going to take some time for this to become a reality. But if and when it does become a reality, it will be outstanding, outstanding. And I would recommend for those who will be living here 20, 30 years from now, Vince and I will be the first ones about 30 years now to go on that cruise, but it really will be an outstanding park. Very much impressed.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Smith.
Hi, Kent. Thank you for your presentation. So I just want to make clear the purpose of the 30-day public comment period is primarily that if someone looks at your proposal for C+, and they really have angst with something, that you want them to provide that input.
That's correct.
Okay, and I didn't know if you were aware, but the City of Maricopa has already forwarded that as a public announcement that it exists and provided the link, so hopefully our constituents and residents will look at that and take a look at what C+ has to offer. I did look at the draft master plan, and there is a lot of information in there, and I read most of it. And because I was looking for a specific thing and one of my concerns, and I will put this in a public feedback if you want, or if you can just take it, that's acceptable as well. But I sat in on 2 of the open house forums, and the one thing I heard consistently over and over and over is the idea of, and it's kind of thinking out of the box, and I think you might have thought so as well, but the idea that midnight rides on equestrian trails, we don't want to shut down what they're currently doing out there. And I took that to heart because a midnight ride sounded beautiful to me. It sounded fantastic during a full moon, you know, those types of things. So I didn't see anything mentioned regarding out-of-the-box thinking, or along with that comes the concept of fees. And, you know, we heard over and over, I currently use it for free. And we know that everything can't be free, but I didn't see any indication that we would even consider what elements would be free. And I might have missed it, but I wanted it to be clearer.
We do have, in the master plan, we do discuss fees and what's allowed fee-wise in this agreement. So we're managing this cooperatively with BLM. So there's federal guidelines on what we can and can't charge fees for.
Okay.
That is discussed in the master plan.
Okay. And typically, are there free services such as a family hike or?
That would be more towards a fee schedule, which you guys discussed in your work session for a while.
Right, fun topic.
And we are not at that point.
Okay.
We are not at the point.
It's something, though, that the county could consider.
Correct.
Considering all the feedback that you received.
Correct.
And the concerns
Correct.
along that area.
Correct. Yeah. So a fee schedule, the operation plan, the hours, all of that would come later during an operational plan and the fee implementation, that type of thing.
Okay.
And right now, we're just not at that point where it makes a lot of sense to do that work, although we're taking those comments, and that will be part of the planning when we get there.
Okay.
Yep.
So those were my 2 main concerns. And regarding the thinking out of the box, because I don't know if anyone offers midnight riding capability, and that probably is out of the box thinking.
Not really.
Not really, okay.
No, not really. So, and I think we shared this, I mountain bike. So I actually prefer to ride at night as
Yeah.
opposed to in the day. It's just a lot better experience. So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay, so maybe some indication.
I was just informed by Vice Mayor Brown that being the father of 3 daughters, I'm never allowed to let them go on a midnight ride under a full moon. So I'll be putting in the contrary to that, no midnight ride. So
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But my main purpose of having that concern is that to make sure we're listening to that voice as well and making
Most
sure
definitely.
it's clear.
And I think, again, that goes back to implementation also. So again, there may be parts developed on one end of the park that we have fees for, and the other part remains open and accessible like it is now, where there would be no fees.
Yeah,
So it's used exactly
I
like it
didn't
would be.
want the idea of whatever rides, being lost.
No, not at
And
all.
it wasn't in the document, and so I thought, how do we hold true to that? And I don't know what.
I'll see if we can add it
Okay,
somewhere.
all right, thank you.
One of the other questions that has been percolating out there is, and I know that especially the difficulty in planning a county park is much larger than planning a city park, but it is in our backyard, and it is something that is right on our doorstep, and I see this as a huge benefit for our residents, both in the near future and in the long-term future, just as I gave you the example earlier of Central Park. But one of the questions that has been percolating out there is the issue of trail systems and how they might interconnect with the city of Maricopa. Clearly, we as a city have not necessarily even expanded our city limits to that location yet. It would take many, many years, and people that want to be inside the city limits, and we're talking tonight about issues of finance right now that are higher priority than building a trail system, but it is something that we try and simultaneously do as we look at all the issues that the city faces simultaneously. Has there been any consideration given to how, even conceptually, that as trail systems are developed within the park area, how they may merge with the city of Maricopa as it expands potentially, 50 years from now, in merging those trail systems together?
I want to say yes. So I do know that our overall regional trail plan does incorporate, and your current new general plan does mesh, okay, with those trail connections. Now we have, on this planning for this project, we have incorporated connections to where we have regional trail connectivity going into. That is part of the planning process. So as long as we keep those lines of communication open and the planning documents still mesh, then I think there's that opportunity, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Other questions, council, at this time on this document? I too, it's about 120 pages, I think, if I remember when I was trying to read it, and going through all the information. If you haven't had a chance, go to Pinal County's website. It's on there. It's a wonderful document, and I think it offers a lot of potential and hope for what can become from this location. So. I, for one, am excited to see that, this is moving forward with taking into consideration, people on both sides of the particular issues. But I think, just like we've talked about, earlier tonight, it's always about finding that balance, the balance between, doing something different and being able to have some budgetary authority to be able to create some new amenities while simultaneously providing for the amenities that, a lot of people are used to using over time. And I don't think that we want to, go in and shake things up so drastically, but certainly tiptoe and put our foot in the water slowly and protect it over the long term. So appreciate it. Thank you very much. We
Thank you very
appreciate
much for
the
having me.
presentation. Thank you, Kent. Well, thank you all for being here. That concludes our meeting for the evening. Council, if I can have a motion to move to E-session, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We'll stand adjourned for 2 weeks. Thank you.